Have you ever looked at someone who studies insanely fast and thought, how the hell are they doing that? Like, they read once, and it's burned into their brain. They skim notes, and suddenly they're explaining entire chapters like they wrote the book themselves. You see them succeed while you're still trying to memorize the first line of your notes. And deep down, you wonder if there's a hidden trick. Well, there is. And it's not luck. It's not genetics. It's not some mystical smart gene. It's a system that feels illegal to use because it breaks the way traditional education wants your brain to behave. It doesn't play fair. It doesn't follow the slow and steady myth your teachers keep preaching. It's faster, sharper, and almost uncomfortably effective. See, here's the truth no one wants to tell you. Schools were never designed to make you learn fast. They were designed to make you obedient, to make you think in straight lines, to memorize what's told, repeat it when asked, and never question how your brain could operate beyond that system. And that's why when someone learns faster, they look like they're cheating. But they're not cheating themselves. They're cheating the system that was built to slow them down. When you understand how the mind actually absorbs information, you stop studying and start programming your brain to devour knowledge like a machine. That's the dangerous part, because once you learn this, you'll never see learning the same way again. You'll realize how much time you've been wasting, rewriting notes, highlighting useless lines, pretending revision means progress. You'll see how the education system conditions you to feel guilty for being fast, as if easy learning means you didn't earn it. But the most elite learners, the ones who dominate exams, crush interviews, and rise through competition effortlessly, they've already figured it out. They don't read everything. They read what matters. They don't memorize words. They memorize connections. They don't chase motivation. They manipulate their brain chemistry to crave learning the way others crave dopamine hits from scrolling their phone. And once you understand these hidden triggers, you'll start learning faster than you ever thought possible. Not because you suddenly got smarter, but because you finally stopped playing by the system's rules. So if you've ever felt that hunger, that voice in your head saying, I could be unstoppable if I just learned faster, this is it. This is the forbidden side of studying, the side that makes you so fast. It feels like cheating, and once you use it, there's no going back. 1. The speed trigger. Stop reading, start extracting. Here's the first secret. Smart students don't read everything. They extract. The human brain doesn't learn from information. It learns from patterns. When you read word by word, you're following the school's system. Slow, obedient, and dull. But when you extract, you're bypassing that filter. Think of your brain as a predator scanning for movement. It doesn't care about every detail. It looks for what stands out. When you train your brain to scan a page for keywords, numbers, contradictions, and emotional cues, you activate the reticular activating system, the part of your brain that says, this is important, keep it. It's like switching your brain from note-taker to hunter. And here's the catch. Once your brain gets used to this, normal reading will feel painfully slow. Because now you're not reading to finish, you're extracting to dominate. That's what fast learners do. They steal what matters, ignore what doesn't, and move on before the rest even begin. 2. The compression law. Rewire. How you remember your brain doesn't store information like a filing cabinet. It compresses it, like a zip file. Every fact, every formula, every theory, it gets stored in clusters. So when you try to memorize pages of content, line by line, you're fighting your own brain's nature. Instead, compress. Turn 10 pages into 3 bullet points that make emotional or logical sense. If a topic feels boring, attach a consequence. Don't just say, photosynthesis is how plants make food. Say, if this process stopped, every oxygen-breathing creature would die, including me. Now your brain sees urgency. not trivia. That's how elite learners trick their brain's memory systems, by compressing facts into emotional clusters. The smaller the cluster, the faster your recall. Because when you compress, you're not memorizing information, you're memorizing meaning. 3. The dopamine loop makes studying addictive. Here's what nobody talks about. The brain doesn't care about goals. It cares about reward loops. Every time you get a small win, your brain releases dopamine. That little shot of, "This feels good, do it again." That's why scrolling social media is addictive. But guess what? You can turn studying into the same chemical trap. Break your study sessions into dopamine cycles. One goal, one reward, one rush. For example, study for 25 minutes. Then visualize what mastering this topic gives you. More power, more freedom, more control. Or after solving a problem, play a 10-second victory sound, smile, stretch, reinforce success. It sounds childish, but it's pure psychology. You're reprogramming your brain to associate study equals reward, not study equals stress. Once you train that loop, you'll crave learning the same way people crave their phones. That's when you know you've crossed the line, from discipline to addiction. 4. The illusion of effort. Study less, recall more. Most students confuse effort with progress. They think the longer they sit, the smarter they get. Wrong. That's like believing the longer your car engine runs in neutral, the faster you're going. The truth is, the more effortless studying feels, the more your brain is actually absorbing. Why? Because relaxed states, like calm focus, activate the alpha brain waves that accelerate memory consolidation. When you stress, memorize, and overthink, you enter beta mode. Too much effort, too little retention. So fast learners don't force focus. They engineer calm. They use dim light, breathing control, and mini breaks to trick their brain into thinking, "This is safe. Let's store this." That's why some people study less and remember more. Because they look lazy, but learn like machines. 5. The paradox of repetition. Forget to remember now. Here's where it gets truly dangerous. Your brain learns best right after forgetting. That's right, forgetting is not failure. It's the ignition point for long-term memory. When you review a topic right when it starts fading, your brain rebuilds it stronger. That's how memory consolidation works. Not by force, but by strategic loss. That's why fast learners don't cram. They time their reviews like a sniper. They study, wait just long enough to almost forget, then re-engage, boom, memory locked. This is how the cheaters of the system operate. They don't study 10 hours. They study 1 hour, 10 times smarter. They don't repeat endlessly. They time their repetition like a code breaker. And after a few weeks, their recall feels supernatural. They're not superhuman. They're just following the brain's natural cycle instead of the school's artificial schedule. 6. The shadow rule. Learn what others avoid. Here's the last truth, the one nobody likes to hear. The fastest learners aren't the ones who study the most common things. They study the forbidden edges, things others skip, ignore, or fear. They go deeper, not wider. They don't memorize the definition. They question why it exists. They don't just learn the formula. They visualize the chaos if it didn't work. They study like rebels, turning every piece of knowledge into personal power. Because once you understand something to the level where you can break it, you own it. That's the ultimate cheat code. You don't study the subject, you become it. You've just learned how to study so fast. It almost feels unfair. And if you're feeling that little spark right now, that strange mix of excitement and guilt, that's how you know you've crossed the line. Because from this point on, you can never say, "I didn't know how." You know. You know the system slows you down. You know speed isn't about working harder. It's about thinking sharper. You know your brain can be trained like a weapon. And right now, it's loaded. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Will you go back to the slow, obedient version of yourself, rewriting notes that mean nothing, reading chapters you'll forget tomorrow? Or will you start using what you've learned, even if it feels like you're cheating reality itself? Because here's the truth. Once you see how fast you can really learn, you can't unsee it. Every lazy study session after this will feel like betrayal, not to anyone else, but to your potential. So, take this video as a warning and a weapon. You've been handed something powerful, something most people will never even believe is real. Don't waste it trying to fit back into the system you just outsmarted. And if this hits something deep in you, that voice saying, "I'm done being average," then say it below. Type it. Declare it. Because the second you do, your transformation begins.